Getting steep in the downswing, it's one of the main contributors to poor ball striking. There's three main causes of it. I'm going to show you each of these and how to fix them. If you feel like this is affecting you, stay tuned. This video is really going to help. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Kerry Gray here at the Joondalup Resort. Before we get stuck in, please go down below, click subscribe, click that little bell so you don't miss out on all the great content coming your way. Alrighty, in today's lesson, we're going to be talking about getting steep, what that does, what that is, and how to fix it. It really is one of the main reasons for concern for a lot of golfers. It causes a slew of ball striking errors, from top shots to fat shots and misdirection, all in between. So if we can work on shallowing that golf club out, eliminating how steep that golf club is coming to the ball, you yourself can really improve the quality of your ball striking. So first of all, let's talk about what steep is. So if I set up to this golf ball here and I'm going to swing to the top, and I've got this yellow rod as a reference stick, a steep downswing when I get to this stage here would be, if I use this stick as an extension of the shaft, you can see that that stick would be pointing down inside the ball line. So in a simplistic fashion, what we would like to see the golf swing do is work what's called on plane. So for example, if I swing this golf club back into this position, which is when the club shaft is parallel, and then moves into the lead arm parallel, what we would like to see is this extension of the shaft, so this yellow rod, effectively trace along that ball line to the top of your swing. This is what we would call on plane. Now, our objective from here is to then draw that plane down into this position, help us strike the golf ball, and then exit towards the target. Now, as a general rule of thumb, if we work on achieving this, we're going to get a lot better ball striking and consistency over our start line direction. So swinging the golf club on plane, or essentially on target, can really help us improve the quality of our strike. So what is steep? Well, steep is when our golf swing gets anywhere inside this line. So if the end of this stick here is pointing at the ball line, steep would be referred to anywhere inside this line. So between the ball and between the toes, and very rarely it even gets quite vertical like this. Now, one of the big reasons this is an issue is that the golf club is effectively coming down on too much of an angle and it's going to crash into the ground. This can lead to the fat shots. Now, what happens is your brain is doing all these calculations really quickly to ensure that doesn't happen. So then what we see from this point here is then the body would stand up, and this is what we call early extension. When the shaft comes in steep by this stage, at some stage it's got to get shallow. And what the body does is it straightens up, the golf club then moves behind, but then that causes the hosel to throw out and a whole bunch of ball striking issues ensure, as we described before. So really, as you can see, getting steep is a big issue for a lot of golfers. So we need to work on that. We need to give you a couple of drills and exercises to ensure that that is not happening to you. So first of all, let's talk about the three main causes of why this happens. The first of those would be that you are not getting enough depth in the backswing. So what does that mean? Well, if I was to achieve a top of swing position, depth is referring to how deep the end of the golf club is behind you, and effectively the distance the end of the golf club is away from the golf ball in this fashion here. If a player did not have depth, they would be in this position. So you can see, relative to where the golf ball lies on the ground, the handle would tend to pick straight up. Versus someone who had depth, well then that golf club handle would be more round. Now, the more depth you have in the backswing, the easier it is to get that club shallowing, the more likely that this club shaft would be coming in on a flatter angle versus a steep angle. So cause number one, and also fix number one, is let's get some more depth to our backswing. Let's get the end of this handle further back and behind. One of the easiest ways to do that is simply just get some more turn, get some more hip turn, get some more chest turn. The more I turn my body back, the more this handle gets behind, the easier it is to get this golf club coming from behind and sending out in the direction of the target. So cause number two, when we get to the top of the swing, regardless of backswing position, would be when the arms are pinned to the chest. So what needs to happen in the golf swing? If I swing to the top, this lead arm needs to come off the chest down in front of my body. And very often we see players keeping their arms pinned to the chest, and they're trying to start the downswing motion by an aggressive upper body rotation down towards the ball. The lead arm is staying against the chest, it's never coming off, and what happens is we get this windscreen wiping motion where the shaft now gets steep. We're either going to cut across, or for the better player, they're going to stand up, drop the club behind, and then flip your hands. So cause number two, that lead arm getting pinned across the chest really does not encourage you to shallow that golf swing. So here's a great drill. You see a lot of players work on this. Justin Rose specifically, you see him do this all the time. What they'll do is they'll swing to the top and they feel like the hands are dropping down underneath them. Effectively, we want to feel like our shoulders are staying more closed off to the target as our arms come down, and as you can see, so the angle of the shaft tends to drop on a shallower plane relative to keeping the arms stuck against the chest, coming over the top, and you can see the shaft angle gets steep. So that's cause number 2, arms getting pinned across the chest. Cause number 3 for a steep shaft is players trying to create artificial lag. Now this is one of the most common errors we see with better players in about that 10 handicap range of when they're trying to get more compression on the golf ball, and they think by driving the arms in front, creating more of an acute angle between that shaft and this lead arm, that's going to help them get more compression and distance in the golf ball. Unfortunately, it works in the adverse way. So effectively what happens is from the top of the swing, as we get to here, and the player would be trying to create all this lag, they end up cupping the wrists, the shaft gets too steep, the face gets too open, and before they know it, they're either driving the club down into the ground or they're tipping the club back, once again, trying to shallow it out. So lag, it's really a big misconception from a lot of players. Lag is effectively the angle of the trail wrist versus the shaft. So the angle between this shaft and the back of the right arm for the right hander, that is lag there, not by dragging the arms in front of the body. When we drag the arms in front of the body, as you can see, we get narrow, we get steep, we've got no room, and we're going to jump up out of it. So what is the fix for this? Well, the fix is effectively to feel like that club is staying wider throughout the entirety of the downswing. Now, for a lot of you, this might feel like you're casting it. Effectively, though, it is doing absolutely the opposite. When you get too narrow, eventually you're going to cast it. So what we want to feel is a much wider backswing to the top. We're going to feel like this right hand for the right hander is pushing away, and we're keeping it pushed away for the entirety of the motion. And when you do that, it's going to ensure that it's not getting too narrow. So 3 main causes for getting steep in the downswing. The first, not getting enough depth in the backswing. The second, as we get to the top, keeping the arms pinned to the chest. And the third and final, players who are trying to create artificial lag by dragging the handle in front of them. All those 3 moves right there are going to encourage your golf swing to get steep rather than shallow, and it's really going to have an adverse effect to your ball striking. So if you feel like this error is plaguing your game, go and get a lesson or video your swing from the down the line view. As soon as your club shaft, if you draw a line on your shaft, gets inside the ball line at any stage, this is what we would call a steep downswing. Well, then we need to shallow it out. See if any of these 3 main causes that I've detailed today are the reason for these misstruck shots. If they are, use the fixes that I've given you. Let's make sure that our arms are not pinned to our chest. Let's ensure that we've got enough depth, and let's ensure that we are not dragging the handle in front. Effectively, what we're doing is we're feeling like we're keeping it nice and wide as the club comes down, and that's going to help us deliver that golf club on much better of an angle. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. As always, please go down below, click subscribe, click that little bell. But until next time, I'm Kerry Gray. Thanks for watching.